Welcome to the Martha Bassett Show, coming to you from the historic Reeves Theater in Elkin, North Carolina, a home for music in the heart of the foothills. The Martha Bassett Show features national artists, local talent, and the music of Martha Bassett. Tonight on the show, we welcome Sally Barker, Vicki Genfan, and Bil Lepp. It's a great night with some of the finest music you'll hear anywhere. It's our Valentine's edition, so let's get started with Martha and the band on this gem, penned by Neil Sedaka and made popular by the likes of Connie Francis and Wanda Jackson. Better watch out for Stupid Cupid.
Stupid Cupid, you're a real mean guy. I'd like to clip your wings so you can fly. I'm in love and it's a crying shame, and I know that you're the one to blame. Hey, hey, set me free. Stupid Cupid, stop picking on me. Can't do my homework and I can't think straight. I meet him every morning, 8:30. I'm acting like a lovesick fool. You even got me carrying his books to school. Hey, hey, set me free. Stupid Cupid, stop picking on me. You mix me up for good right from the very start. Hey, go play Robin Hood with somebody else's heart. You got me jumping like a crazy clown, and I don't feature what you're putting down. Since I kissed his loving lips of wine, the thing that bothers me is that I like it fine. Hey, hey, set me free. Stupid Cupid, stop picking on me. Like a crazy clown, and I don't feature what you're putting down. Since I kissed his loving lips of wine, the thing that bothers me is that I like it fine. Hey, hey, set me free. Stupid Cupid, stop picking on me. In 2008, Vicki Genfan won the esteemed Guitar Player magazine's Guitar Superstar Award, playing her own percussive technique of slap tap acoustic guitar. She's been showcased as one of the world's top guitarists at festivals such as the International Montreal Jazz Festival, Germany's Open Strings Guitar Festival, Italy's Soave Guitar Festival, and hundreds of venues and performing arts centers across the US and abroad. Not only can she play guitar, but Vicki is also an award-winning singer-songwriter drawing from folk, jazz, pop, soul, and world music. She loves teaching and is in high demand around the globe for master classes, clinics, and music camps. She has 10 instructional DVDs to her credit, 2 CDs released on Germany's Acoustic Music Records, and 3 self-released CDs. Guitarist Steve Vai said of her, "If I could play like Vicki, I'd stay home and entertain myself." Please welcome for the first time to our show, Vicki Genfan.
grow during the break here? Okay. Hey, everybody. It's a pleasure and an honor to be at the Reeves tonight with these amazing folks. They're amazing musicians and some of the sweetest people around. Really, just what a great vibe. And this is scaring me right here, this mic. Okay. My guitar is strange in that it's tuned entirely too low. That's a B flat, and it's many notes lower than normal guitars. So I just always take a minute and let the strings kind of get used to you. And now we're going to start with a song called Atomic Reshuffle. Thank you.
Vicki Genfan.
Thank you. That's hard to play, I have to say.
And beautiful. Vicki, tell us where you're from.
I am originally from New York City, and up by the George Washington Bridge. That was the view from my parents' room as a kid, so I claim the George Washington Bridge as my bridge.
And where do you live now?
I live in Pilot Mountain. Well, I live in Ararat. Can't even say that. Ararat. 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 I live right outside of Pilot Mountain.
So she's local. So will you tell us about your style of guitar playing and how that came about?
I was playing guitar really young. My dad used to play, and he would sit around, and I got a guitar when I was 5, and he just showed me some chords and stuff, but I just fell in love, and so I kept playing it, and I took piano lessons as a kid, and I went to grade school and started playing trombone and took lessons. I never took formal lessons on guitar. So it was always my kind of free-form instrument. And at about 12 or 13 years old, I heard Joni Mitchell. How many of you heard Joni Mitchell? At some time in your life. And Joni's guitars were different. You know, and a lot of songs on those early albums were just a dulcimer in her singing or a guitar in her. And I was totally enchanted with the sound of her guitar, and I thought, my guitar doesn't sound that way. It doesn't have those rich chords, it doesn't have that. And somebody told me, well, she's tuning her guitar differently. I was like, all right, that's it. It's on. And I started to just go rogue, really. I just started churning these things until I found chords I liked. And then I just sat for days and months and years and played around and jammed with myself. And I kept doing it, and I kept finding new tunings, and I have about 36 now.
Wow.
Which is a blessing and a curse, but I often think about it like, and I'm going to ask you this, Martha.
Okay.
How many pairs of shoes do you have? For it, the truth.
About as many as you have guitar tunings.
Right. And so here's the question. Why do you need all those shoes?
They all have a different feel.
And that's exactly what it is on the guitar with the tunings. So each tuning has a character.
Yeah.
It has a feel, it has a mood, and it inspires different kinds of compositions and different kinds of melodies and different kinds of rhythms. And that really is what makes me happy and brings me joy on this instrument. And it's a strange path, but I've followed it, and so that's why you saw me do what I do.
It's amazing. It's amazing. I love it. I love it.
Thank you.
Well, tell us about this specific guitar. I think some folks in the audience might be interested.
Yeah, it has on it a Luna signature here, Luna symbol, Luna guitars. I was representing Luna guitars for a long time. And after I won the Superstar in 2008, they said, how come you weren't playing a Luna guitar? I was playing a Gibson at the time. And I said, because your guitars aren't built well enough to hold these crazy tunings. And so they said, well, build one. Go find someone to build you a guitar that will be that guitar, and it'll be a Luna, and da-da-da. But how do you find a builder to build a guitar and don't put their name on it? Like, that's not an easy quest. But my dear friend, and some of you may know Gray Burchett, right?
Local guitar
builder extraordinaire, and local, just wonderful person. So I asked Gray, would you do this? And he said, yeah, I'd do this for you.
Oh, that's amazing.
So we're going to actually put Burchett up here really soon. It's time. It's time. And I can't wait. It's different than a Burchett guitar, and later on you'll get to see a Burchett guitar, a traditional one. So this is a kind of a one-off. But he built it special for me with the tunings and knowing what I do and how I play. So this is a treasured instrument. Fantastic. And best of all, he loves that I mess it up and that I scratch it. He loves that, and that makes me so happy because that's part of what I do.
Yeah. Well, will you please share more music with us?
I will. Thank you. I'm going to do because this is such a bizarre tuning, I thought I can't do a concert and put the guitar in this tuning and then quickly take it out. It's already torture that I put it in the tuning, and so I figure I gotta figure out another song in this tuning, and I came up with a little strange version of a song written by the Young Rascals called Groovin'. on a Sunday afternoon. Really couldn't. Okay, I just lost the words. What's the words? Really? Somebody tell me. Couldn't get away too soon. Really couldn't get away too soon. I can't imagine anything that's better. The world is ours whenever we're together. There ain't a place I'd rather be instead of moving down a crowded avenue. Doing everything we like to do. There's always lots of things that we can't see. We can be anyone we want to be, and others happy people we could be just grooving. Oh, oh, on a Sunday. Really couldn't get away too soon. Gonna keep on spending sunny days this way. We're gonna laugh and talk our time away. I feel it coming closer day by day. Life could be ecstasy. Oh, you and me endlessly. So when I was working on this arrangement, I realized the bass part was a bass part from a lot of songs. And one that came to my mind was this one. Well, it was just my imagination running away with me, yeah. It was just my imagination running away on a Sunday afternoon. Thank you so much.
The Martha Bassett Show is thrilled to partner with Atrium Health Wake Forest Baptist, the lead sponsor of The Martha Bassett Show. The U.S. News and World Report's 2023 edition of Best Graduate Schools ranked Wake Forest University School of Medicine among the top 50 research programs in the nation. They're the gold standard of health care. The Wake Forest Baptist Davie Medical Center made the Becker Hospital Review list of top-rated hospitals for patient experience state by state. It's Atrium Health, Wake Forest Baptist, where innovation and compassion meet. Martha, tell us about our very next special guest.
Bil Lepp is an award-winning storyteller, author, and recording artist. He was the host of the History Channel's Man vs. History series and has come to be our storyteller in residence, as this is his third time joining us on this show. Bill is also a 5-time champion of the West Virginia Liars Contest, and though a champion liar, his stories often contain morsels of truth which shed light on universal themes. While his stories may not be completely true, they are always honest. Bill is the author of 7 books and 21 audio collections. His first children's book, The King of Little Things, won the Penn Stephen Kroll Award for Best Picture Book Writing. He received favorable reviews from the Wall Street Journal, Publishers Weekly, the School Library Journal, and other publications. It also won the Zena Sutherland Award and the Parents' Choice Award, and was a finalist for the Irma Black Award. And if that's not enough, it was chosen to be West Virginia's book at the National Book Festival. Bill lives in South Charleston, West Virginia, with his wife and 2 children. Please welcome back Bil Lepp.
Thank you very much. I come from a little tiny town called Half Dollar, West Virginia. We had 2 streets in Half Dollar. One was called Main Street. The other one was called, nah, that ain't Main Street. And we had, just on one little campus, we had the elementary school, the junior high, and the high school, and then the jail. And a lot of us just went right on through. And then we had a Methodist church, your variety pack of Baptist churches, and our parents told us that there were some Catholics that lived over the hill. But we didn't know if that was true, or if that was just something they told us so we'd go to bed at night. But my buddy Skeeter and I loved the Half Dollar Baptist Church. Now, when I say that we loved the Baptist Church, I mean we loved the building that was the Baptist Church, because we were Methodists. But the reason we loved the building that was the Baptist Church is because the attic was infested with bats. And on a spring evening, a summer evening, a fall evening, you could go and sit behind the church and just watch thousands and thousands of bats flying out of the eaves, flying out of the steeple. It was a beautiful sight to see. So Skeeter and I were very excited when it was announced that because they were doing renovations at the Methodist Church, that we would be having a joint vacation Bible school at the Baptist Church. And we were excited for several reasons. One, we had lots of Baptist friends, but it was difficult to tell the Baptist children from the Methodist children on the playground because we all knew the same bad words. So we were excited to have the opportunity to see the Baptist children being Baptist in their natural Baptist habitat. On top of that, we understood that inside the Baptist church, we'd never been in there, they had a big baptismal, like a big bathtub where they do their baptisms. Now, when you're a Methodist, when you get baptized, it generally happens as a baby. You don't have anything to do with it, and they just sprinkle a little bit of water on your head. But the Baptists get the full-bore dunking. And when I asked my dad why that was, he said that's because Methodists just have dirty minds. But the Baptists are dirty all over. And then, there's no rebaptism in the Methodist Church, but we understood that there were Baptists who got baptized like once a week. So, we were excited at the idea of seeing that happen. So we got to the little church, and the little old ladies who were running the vacation Bible school put the boys on one side of the sanctuary and the girls on the other, and we sang some hymns, and then there was a little devotional, and then it came time to give the offering. But instead of passing the plates in the traditional fashion, what happened was we all got up. The boys lined up against this wall, the girls lined up against this wall, and we progressed forward. And someone had built in front of the altar an offering-giving device, the likes of which I had never seen before and have never seen since. It was a 2x4 that stood about 3 feet tall. And bolted loosely perpendicularly across the top of that 2x4 was another 2x4. And hung from this side of the 2x4 by binder's twine was a coffee can painted blue. And hung from this side of the 2x4 by binder's twine was a coffee can painted pink. And the girls put their money in this can, and the boys put their money in this can, and whichever side of the scale went down, that gender won the offering. Yeah, you should feel uncomfortable about that. There's a lot wrong with that. And it's not even all theological. I mean, part of the problem is that the weight of American money has very little to do with the value of American money. A nickel is twice the size of a dime, but it's only worth half as much. 10 pennies weighs more than a $100 bill. Now, what Skeeter and I were most excited about that whole vacation Bible school idea was, to be honest, we wanted to get in the baptismal. And I don't know why. Except that we were 7, and it seemed like the right sort of thing to do. So anytime we could sneak out of class, anytime the sanctuary was empty, we would go, and first we would just look. I don't know exactly what I thought we'd see. I guess we thought we'd see Baptist sin, just sort of swimming around. Like evil koi, like, oh, there goes greed, there goes avarice. Now, I don't know why I picked those as Baptist sin, but anyway, we'd stand there and we'd look, and then the Baptist pastor would appear behind us. Now, we didn't go to that church, but it was a small town. We knew everybody, and he was this gruff old guy. I say he was old. Now I realize he was probably 30. But he had this wonderful attitude where he really did not care whether or not you agreed with him, because he knew that he was right and that you would either one day come to see things his way or you would go to hell. And he was fine with either outcome. And he would walk up behind us and he would say, boys, 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 I know you want to get in there, but that's not a toy. And when a man does things purely for his own enjoyment, and not for the benefit of others or the glory of God, he will be tainted and stained that others may know. And we thought, wow, that is good stuff. Now, it didn't make us not want to get in the baptismal, but there was no denying it was good stuff. And that pastor hated the way we were doing the offering. But any pastor worth his or her salt knows that there's only so many battles you can win, and taking on the little old ladies that run the vacation Bible school is not a wise career move. Yeah, there's probably some of you out there tonight. And so he wouldn't tell them to quit, but by Thursday he couldn't stand it anymore. And when it came time for the devotional, he got up to do the devotional, but he didn't read a pithy little poem. No, he got up in the pulpit and he gave a full-bore sermon. He started by telling us the story of where Jesus is in the temple with the disciples, and they're watching people give the offering, and the rich guys are coming up and just putting in tons and tons of cash. And then the little old lady walks up and she puts in her 2 mites, or her 2 pennies. And Jesus turns to the disciples and he says to the disciples, who gave the greater offering? And Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John are looking for their pens, right? They're like, where's my red pen? He's talking. And then, So Jesus says, who gave the greater offering? And then one of the disciples says one of those things that make me think that the reason Jesus chose those 12 guys is because he knew that they were morons. And before you get offended or self-righteous, he knew that he could ask them questions that you and I needed to know the answers to, and they would just open their mouths and say the first stupid thing that they thought of, and then Jesus could explain the right answer, and we would know without ever opening our mouths. He was already looking out for you. So Jesus said, who gave the greater offering? And one of the disciples goes, clearly the rich guys gave the greater offering. And Jesus said, no, the rich men gave from their abundance, while the little old lady gave from her poverty. And then he explained to us that what that means is, when you give an offering, you're supposed to put yourself in a place where you become dependent upon God. The word abundance means more than you need, so if you're giving out of your abundance, you haven't given anything at all. But the little old lady gave from her poverty. She gave everything she had. Therefore, she became completely dependent upon God. Thus, she gave the greater offering. And just real quick here, parenthetically, number one, 2 things. Number one, that is in no way a prosperity verse. And number 2, I say this on behalf of any church treasurers listening tonight. If you are giving out of your abundance, don't quit. It's not doing you any good, but the rest of us are benefiting. So, the pastor told us that the rich men gave from their perfidy. Yeah, we didn't know what it meant either. But it seemed like a weird place to keep your money. And then he motioned toward the scale, and he said that if we continue to give in this perfidious way, that the demons of hell would descend upon us, snatch our souls, and drag them down to the sulfuric pits. And we were like, yeah, right? Because we were Methodists. Methodists don't have demons of hell. We have covered dish dinners. And so again, Skeeter and I were moved, but again, not in the direction that the pastor had intended. It's just that night we went home and we collected every penny in both of our houses. And we put them in, we had an old wool hunting sock. I bet we had about 18 inches of pennies, probably 10 inches in diameter. And I'm talking pre-1983 pennies. I'm talking 174 pennies to the pound. And when we got to church the next day, Skeeter kept those pennies behind his back, because you're probably familiar with the idea that even the observation of an experiment can change the outcome of the experiment. The same is certainly for a prank at church. And when it came time to give the offering, Skeeter got last in line, and he kept those pennies between his back and the wall, and he just kind of slid all the way down the wall. And when it was his turn, when he got to the scale, he didn't gently introduce the pennies into the blue can. He held that tube of pennies about 10 inches above the can, and he just dropped it. And when those pennies hit that side of the scale dropped dramatically, causing the other side of the scale to rise precipitously. And when the blue can hit the floor, the scale stopped, but the pink can didn't. It was still going. And when it got to the end of the binder's twine, binding it to the 2x4, the binder's twine just ripped. And every eye in that sanctuary watched that pink can fly through the sky. We watched it, and it hit the ceiling. And when it hit the ceiling, it didn't stop. It just punched a hole right through the ceiling. And we all stood there, staring at that hole. And then the demons of hell started to pour forth thousands and thousands of bats, just roiling out of the ceiling, and everyone ran for their lives. Everybody was running from the sanctuary, clutching their souls tightly to their chests lest they be ripped away, everyone but Skeeter and myself, because we knew this was our moment, and we went straight for the baptismal. And we didn't stop to look. We just put our hands on the side and we vaulted over. And when we had gone just far enough that we could no longer halt our forward progress, when we were now nothing but slaves to Newton's first law, body in motion tends to stay in motion, which is very similar to Skeeter's first law, which is a body being chased by the law tends to stay in motion. But when we could do nothing but fly a little further forward and fall, we looked down and we saw that someone, some unknown person, had dyed the water red. And a few minutes later, when we joined the rest of the kids on the front lawn of the church, we were limping and dripping and dyed pink. We heard a voice behind us that said, "Boys, boys, boys. When a man does things purely for his own enjoyment and not for the benefit of others or the glory of God, he will be tainted and stained that others may know."
Yeah, it is. The Martha Bassett Show comes to you from the Reeves Theater and Cafe, downtown Elkin's newly renovated landmark. The Reeves Theater has recently launched the Reeves Downtown School of Music, right up the street in the old Arts Council building. Through programs like the newly established Every Good Scholarship Fund, they are a nonprofit dedicated to providing music lessons to all instruments, all ages instruction in group and individual lesson settings. You can learn old-time, bluegrass theory, composition, and more. Learn more at reevesmusic.org. Remember, when you come to visit us in beautiful downtown Elkin, make sure you stop by these fine downtown Elkin businesses. Mountain High Metals, the Elk Pharmacy, Yoga on Main, Coley Hall at the Liberty, Angry Troll Brewing, Yadkin Valley Quilts, the Wisdom Table, and Fruition. Now, let's get back to the Reeves Theater stage with Martha performing the Greg Brown Ode to Love Marriage Chant.
Thank you. Greg Brown is married to one of my favorite songwriters and singers, Iris DeMent, and Greg has an incredibly low bass voice, and Iris has a pretty high voice, so I'm going to try and go right down the middle with this one.
I'm not usually allowed to speak during the show, but given his talent, Martha does a spectacular Iris DeMent impression. Perhaps you could give the people a little taste, a little something.
It sounds like making fun. Another time. Come on.
Yeah, that's why I don't get to talk during the show.
That's
so
right.
Russell. I'm going to be filling out one of those cards in intermission. Join me.
Marriage is impossible. Marriage is dull. Your dance card is empty. Your plate is too full. It's something no sensible person would do. I wish I was married. I wish I was married. I wish I was married to you. Marriage is unnatural. Marriage is hard. You rotate your tires. You work in the yard. You fight about nothing every hour or two. And I wish I was married. I wish I was married. I wish I was married to you. The children throw fits in airports and such. They projectile vomit on Aunt Ruthie at lunch. And your in-laws know just what you should do. But I wish I was married. I wish I was married. I wish I was married to you. I'd like to fix you my special broth when you're sick. Like to fight with you when you're being real thick. There is no end to what I'd like to do, but I wish I was married. I wish I was married. I wish I was married to you. Now I like the roll in the rock and roll, and all I know is you're the brother of my soul. And we make a circle, just we two, and I wish I was married. I wish I was married. I wish I was married to you. The sky unpredictable, mysterious the sea. Do we wish most for what can never be? It never can be. I guess that's true, but I wish I was married. I wish I was married. I wish I was to you. The grass is always greener is what they say to me. If I was your wife, maybe I'd agree. I like brown grass and vows that stay true. And I wish I was married. I wish I was married. I wish I was married to you, to you, to you, to you. you. Sally Barker comes to us from the UK, where she has been professionally involved with the acoustic music and traditional folk scene of the British Isles for the majority of her adult life, over 45 years, and been a part of over 24 professional recordings, both her own solo albums as part of various other groups and as a guest on many others. Sally began writing songs and performing at the age of 10, influenced by the likes of John Martin, Janice Ian, Martin Carthy, June Tabor, Steel Eye Span, Bonnie Raitt, and Pentangle. By her late teens, Sally was performing folk and blues in pubs and folk clubs. Her compositions dig deeply into the historical experience of Britain, and of course, her catalog includes a wealth of songs about love and life. She's been a finalist on The Voice. She's performed with and or supported such acts as Richard Thompson, Taj Mahal, and Fairport Convention. We are so honored that she is joining us as she tours the U.S. this year. Please give a warm welcome to Sally Barker.
Hello there. It's nice to see you. Well, you are out there, aren't you? I'm going to do a couple of songs of mine. This first one's called Money's Talking. Money's talking, breathing loud in my ear. It's telling me all kinds of things I knows I like to hear. Talk, talk, talk about money. It's talking dollars and it whispers in yen. What delicious words, and here they come again. Talk, talk, talk about money. I wanna grab it, I wanna keep it, I wanna spend it, I wanna have it all around me, in my bathroom, in my bedroom, everywhere I go. I wanna see it shine, don't wanna lose it, don't wanna share it. I'm not a charity, I won't give it away. It gives me dignity, these shoes on my feet, and a restaurant seat. I can't live without it. I sold my soul to the devil himself. He took one look and then he said he wanted everything else. What are we talking about? Talk, talk, talk about money. I wanna grab it, I wanna keep it, I wanna spend it, I wanna have it all around me, in my bathroom, in my bedroom, everywhere I go. I wanna see it shine, don't wanna lose it, don't wanna share it. I'm not a charity, I won't give it away. It gives me dignity, these shoes on my feet, and a restaurant seat. I can't live without it. Don't make me live without it. You wouldn't like me if I had to live without it. Don't make me live, don't make me live without it. You wouldn't like me if I had to live without it. Oh, ooh, 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 ooh. Money's talking, breathing loud in my ear. telling me all kinds of things that knows I like to hear. Talk, talk, talk about money. I wanna grab it, I wanna keep it, I wanna spend it, I wanna have it all around me, in my bathroom, in my bedroom, everywhere I go. I wanna see it shine, don't wanna lose it, don't wanna share it. Not a charity, I won't give it away. It gives me dignity, these shoes on my feet, and a restaurant seat I can't live without. I wanna grab it, I wanna keep it, I wanna spend it, I wanna have it all around me, in my bathroom, in my bedroom, everywhere I go. I wanna see it shine, don't wanna lose it, don't wanna share it. I'm not a charity, I won't give it away. It gives me dignity, these shoes on my feet, and a restaurant seat I can't live without it. Talk, talk, talk about money. 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 Talk, talk, talk.
Sally Barker.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, my mouth's gone all dry. It must be the humidity.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, it's so wonderful to have you here and meet you. What a beautiful voice you have.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So I understand you are also playing a Graber-Chet guitar.
I am indeed, yes. So far, I've come over and played a succession of different guitars, of Vicky's mostly.
Uh-huh.
And this time, Vicki had the guitar I was going to use. There was something wrong with the pickup, so she said to Gray, "Do you have anything that Sally could play?" And he's lent me this amazing. I mean, it looks like an antique, doesn't it? It just
Beautiful.
looks so beautiful, and I'm scared to death of scratching it. So, but it's really nice to play. It's a lovely guitar.
Can you tell us a little bit about being on The Voice and what it was like working with Tom Jones?
Yes, so I was kind of out of my comfort zone applying for something like that, because I was used to playing in small theatres, in folk clubs and things like that. But I was going through a lean period, and at the time, I've got two sons, and at the time they were teenagers, and they were watching this program called The Voice. And they said to me, "Mum, you've got to go on this program." And I was going, nah, I don't do that sort of thing. Anyway, they kept going on at me, and then I thought, well, why not? So I kind of applied, and then I got through lots of pre-auditions, and then I went and did the blind audition. And I really thought that I was just an old lady going to be on a stage, and nobody would take any notice of me. Anyway, I went up and sang this song, and one of the chairs turned, and it just happened to be this lovely white-haired old man with this beaming smile, but very much like a Cheshire cat. And I realised that I was part of the program then, and I couldn't then leave. Anyway, Tom Jones was my mentor, and initially there were 12. He had 12 mentees, and then as the weeks went by, there were less and less of us, and I was still there, and I have to say the experience was delightful. I got to hang out with Tom Jones. What's bad about that? Yeah. You know, it was good fun. And he was really a really nice guy. He probably still is, but you know, he was lovely. He was lovely to hang out with. It was good fun.
Oh, what an amazing experience! So before that, you had just been playing in pubs, and what has that experience opened up for you? Here you are touring, and
yeah, I think the thing is, it's really nice to have on your CV.
yeah,
and it does make people sort of take notice of you. And for a while, I was recognized in the supermarket and all over the country, really. I went to do some gigs in Scotland, and with a band I was playing with at the time, and we pulled into the petrol station. You call them a gas station, don't you? We pulled into the petrol station, and somebody went in to pay, and I was still in there. I didn't get out the vehicle, and the woman behind the counter, she said to my friend, "Is that Sally Barker?" Oh, she was on The Voice, wasn't she? So it was kind of, I was being spotted at various different places. It wasn't something I particularly enjoyed, but you know, that was part of it.
She even knew your name.
Yes, yeah, scary.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, it was really good fun to do it. It was yeah.
Well,
As I say, it was outside of my comfort zone.
Yes.
It's nice to be back into my comfort zone, playing acoustic music.
Well, will you play another song for us?
I'd love to. Yes.
And then we're going to take an intermission. So I give you again, Sally Barker.
And this is a love song. This is we could say this is for the Valentines. This is for the people in love, the people who have been in love, and the people who would like to be in love. It's called Two Hearts. Oh, will you grow old with me, or will you stay forever young? Here in my memory, when new love has begun again. Oh, will you come live with me, or will I not see you again? Sweetheart, if it's meant to be, two hearts will beat as one. Darling, you make my heart say all kinds of unguarded things. Before I can stop myself, here comes the heart that sings. Wrap myself up in metaphors as if to muffle the sound. These words sneak through the folds and shout out loud. Oh, will you grow old with me, or will you stay forever young? Here in my memory, when new love has begun again. Oh, will you come live with me, or will I not see you again? Sweetheart, if it's meant to be, two hearts will beat as one. La da da la, la da 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 da, la da da da. La da da la, la da 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 da. Oh, darling, you make my heart say all kinds of unguarded things before I can stop myself. Here comes the heart that sings. Oh, will you grow old with me, or will you stay forever young? Here in my memory, when new love has begun again. Oh, will you come live with me, or will I not see you again? Sweetheart, if it's meant to be, if it's meant to be, if it's meant to be, two hearts will beat
Sally Barker. Okay, folks, we're going to take about 15 minutes for an intermission. Please check out the merch table, and Miranda will hook you up with some good music to take home with you. See you in a few minutes.
Welcome back to the second half of the Martha Bassett Show, featuring Sally Barker, Vicki Genfan, and Bil Lepp. We'd like to give a big welcome to all of our new listeners in the Whitesburg, Kentucky area, listening on WMMT 88.7 Whitesburg, the non-industry giant of the mountains. Lowe's Foods provided our hospitality this evening, and we are proud to say that the Martha Bassett Show artist accommodations are provided by Three Trails, part of the Carolina Experience. That's your boutique hotel steps from the Reeves Theater. These folks have designed 14 units with a modern flair that highlight the building's architectural history, and they also have a rooftop patio. If you come to the Martha Bassett Show, you get 10% off your stay. Just use promo code MARTHA10. Now, let's get back to the Reeves stage in beautiful downtown Elkin, North Carolina, with the 5-time winner of the West Virginia Liars Contest and author of the award-winning children's book, The King of Little Things. Please put your hands together for Mr. Bil Lepp.
Thank you so much. I didn't have a Valentine's Day story until I was driving down here today, so here it goes. We didn't have a water tower in Half Dollar, West Virginia. We had a water tank that was up on a hill, but it was surrounded by trees, so you couldn't really see it. And therefore, there was a lot of pent-up emotions in Half Dollar, West Virginia, because if you can't spray paint on the side of the water tower, "I'm sorry," or "I love you," how do you express those emotions to people? You'd have to go up and say it to them, and that can be difficult. Now, there was, we also didn't have a therapist. This is important, I think. And so people didn't have a place to share their deepest thoughts, but they were building a new water tower beside the old water tower, and when it was mostly constructed but not yet full, people figured out that they could get into the new water tower, and they would go in there with spray paint or a permanent marker, and they would spray paint on the inside of the water tower things that they just could not say out loud. Things like, "I love Roy," or "I'm sorry I cheated," or "I really don't like the Pittsburgh Steelers." Things you couldn't say out loud in town. And then they filled the water tower, and a strange thing happened. Some people who drank water from the water tank, those words on the inside of the water tank, the deepest emotions of people in town, the words seeped into the water. And some people, after they took a drink of town water, would just be spontaneously overcome with an emotion they couldn't understand, like that they loved Roy or they hated the Steelers. And it was interesting because the people that drank well water never had those emotional experiences. And one of the persons that was most affected by the town's drinking water was a woman named Whimsy Mangus. Now, Whimsy was an interesting person. She was the daughter of Tumbler Mangus. She had gone off, this was right at 1969, 1970, so she had gone off. A lot of people were trying to get back to the land in that area, or that era, but if you were from a little town, the last thing you wanted to do was get back to the land. You wanted to get away from it, so she had gone off to San Francisco or wherever, and she had finally come home, and she could feel those words all the time coming through the water tower, through the water tank, through the water itself. Now, her husband was a man named Izzy Frank, and Izzy showed up for the first time in Half Dollar, West Virginia, when Whimsy's father, Tumbler Mangus, died. So they had met, Whimsy and Izzy had met down in Florida shortly before Tumbler's death. And when Tumbler died, Izzy said, "I'll come up to Half Dollar and I'll help comfort you during your time." And so he wandered into town, and they went to the funeral together. And Whimsy stood at the door of the funeral home with Izzy beside her, and people would come up, and Whimsy would say, "Oh, Susie, I'm so glad you came to Daddy's funeral. He would be so happy that you're here. Do you have a cigarette? This is Izzy. He's my date." Yeah, that's weird. And I don't know what the preacher preached at Tumbler's funeral or what the eulogist said, but I think that people walked away most remembering that Izzy Mangus brought a date to her daddy's funeral, which also happened to be on Valentine's Day. It's just a lot of weird stuff that went on. So Izzy settled in our little town of Half Dollar, and Izzy and Whimsy opened a store. It was called Whimsy, Izzy, Boots and Coffins, new and used, and sometimes coffee. Because this was in an era when people made their own coffee at home for free. And also, Whimsy and Izzy tended to get up way later than everyone else in town, so they'd already had their coffee by the time Whimsy and Izzy were up. So the coffin thing, you're wondering about that, I'm sure. I mean, I understand nobody wants to wear a used boot, but what about a used coffin? Well, Sheriff Hasbro, the law in our community, came and asked Izzy, just exactly where do you get your used coffins? And Izzy said, well, there's a lot of ways to procure a used coffin, and some of them are legal. And Sheriff Hasbro said, please explain that to me. And so Izzy explained that, first of all, there's there's the showroom, the show model that just sits on the floor, and after a while, it just gets sold to somebody else if it doesn't get bought and used as a burial coffin. Or there's scratch and dent coffins. Izzy said he knew a guy in Florida who ran a business, and he was supposed to be burying people, sort of a budget burial thing, but instead he was just cremating them, and then when he got arrested, the police auctioned off the truckload of coffins that he had. So Izzy got the coffins real cheap. And then also Izzy explained that a lot of people buy, they prepay for their funeral, for the whole ceremony, so that their loved ones, their children, their spouse doesn't have to worry about that aspect when their loved one dies. But Izzy explained that a lot of people, they get divorced, or they become estranged from their children and they no longer want their funeral prepaid, or they just start feeling better, or they get into financial trouble. And then they would sell their prepaid funeral to whoever would buy it. And Izzy would buy these things for 50%. And then he'd sell them for, 25% more. That made a handy profit. Or he said, he'd give them as birthday gifts or Christmas gifts, whatever. And he said they always came with a coffin, and not only did they come with a coffin, but you got a little, the burial plot. And Izzy lived in Florida, and even back then, land was expensive. And so he got enough parcels side by side, he told us, that he had a mausoleum built on it, because there was no zoning where this cemetery was. And he had a mausoleum, but it was a 2-bedroom, 1-bath mausoleum. And he called it his live-in memorial. And then, he said a lot of people get abducted, and then they don't need their coffin. And also, apparently, a lot of coffins come with a 30-day money-back guarantee. If your loved one decides before 30 days are up that they're not comfortable spending eternity in that coffin, they can turn it in for a model of equal or lesser value. This is the way Izzy thought. Izzy would also complain to Sheriff Hasbro all the time that airplanes flew over his house, and he wanted that to stop. And Sheriff Hasbro said, I can't stop airplanes flying over your house. It's basically considered a public highway. And Izzy said, no, I own the air rights over my house. And Sheriff Hasbro said, no, you don't. And Izzy said, I do. I own the mineral rights under my house. I own the air rights above my house. And Sheriff Hasbro said, look, Izzy, you don't. You might own the lower stratum, but that's only 2-3 stories up. After that, that's just public domain. He says, besides, what am I going to do? Stop one of the airplanes and give it a ticket? But that's how Izzy was. And at some point, Izzy and Whimsy got into some terrible argument. And all I really know about it is that Whimsy slashed 3 of the tires on Izzy's truck. And when he asked why, she said, because you cheated on me. And he said, no, I didn't. Why would you even think that? And she said, because I was drinking water And I had this, it came to me, these words, I cheated on you, and I was looking at you, and she said it must have come from the water tank. And he said, honey, that water tank was here 10 years before I ever moved here, so it wasn't me. Well, they hadn't quite worked out their fight when Whimsy had to go to jail for a little while for totally unrelated circumstances. See, we only had one jail in Half Dollar, West Virginia, and when they built it way back in the whenevers, no one had ever considered that a woman might go to jail. So there was just one bathroom, and so you couldn't have female and male prisoners in there at the same time. So it was the women's jail from January to June, and then the men's jail from July through December. And if you got in trouble, you just have a suspended sentence. Sheriff Hasbro would expect you to show up. So she was in jail, and she was the only person in there. And, she didn't want any visitors, partly because we had this one church in town that took the whole go visit prisoners really serious. And so they would go and visit the prisoners. But when you're the only prisoner and there's church people coming in all the time and all they want to do is sit there and read you the Bible, I mean, Whimsy was thought to herself, I've read the Bible all the way through at least 3 times, numerous versions, King James, Gideon. She thought, if I've read it through 3 times, a 4th time isn't going to help. And so she refused all visitors because she didn't want Izzy coming either because she was still mad at him. And she was sitting out there in the exercise yard. It's just a little exercise yard. She was sitting on 3 tires. She had bought Izzy 3 new tires for Valentine's Day to say I'm sorry, but she'd had them shipped to the jail because that's where she was going to be on Valentine's Day. So she was out in the exercise yard, smoking a cigarette, sitting on 3 tires, just feeling bad for herself because nobody was coming to visit her. Now, Izzy knew that Whimsy loved balloons, and so he decided to get her a balloon for Valentine's Day. But she also liked balloons that weren't just, oval shaped. She liked crazy-shaped balloons, and so he got her a heart-shaped balloon. But it wasn't a normal heart-shaped balloon. It was a hot air balloon, a giant heart-shaped hot air balloon, and she heard it before she saw it. She heard that hiss, that roar of the propane tank, and she looked over, and Izzy was coming over toward the jail in this hot air balloon, and he got just above the exercise yard, and he lowered down the rope, and she took it, and she tied it to those 3 tires as an anchor, and then Izzy lowered himself down into the exercise yard, and Whimsy got in the balloon, and they rose back up, and they were just there. And Tom, the deputy, came out, and he was screaming, jailbreak, 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 and he had the shotgun, and he was getting ready to shoot the balloon. And Sheriff Hasbro came out, and he put the gun in, and he said, whoa, 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 what are you doing, Tom? And he said, Whimsy's breaking out of jail. And Sheriff Hasbro said, no, doesn't look like it. They're staying right there. They're anchored to those 3 tires. And he said, but she's clearly out of the jail. Sheriff Hasbro said, no, they're still in the lower spectrum. They're still in the airspace of the exercise yard of the jail. And Tom said, what do you think they're doing up there? And Sheriff Hasbro said, I reckon they're exercising. And so I don't know where you're from, but in Half Dollar, West Virginia, where there is no water tower, nothing says I'm sorry or I love you more than 3 new tires and a heart-shaped hot air balloon.
It is my pleasure to welcome back Sally Barker and Vicki Genfan.
Thank you. Hey, everyone. Wow, I've never met Bill. This is awesome. We've had a lot of discussions about Ararat. Me and you people. And I did start out trying to say that actual town I live in, Ararat, and now I've learned to say Ararat.
Is that what that's what, how it's
Ararat.
Era.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
I feel like I live here now.
Are we going to say something about the song?
Let's say something about the song.
Yeah, what do you want to say?
Sally and I have been touring in Europe primarily for over 20 years. We met in 2001 in Germany, and we were just put together as part of a group of 3 women from 3 different countries, and we didn't know each other. I'd never been out of the country, and we immediately became friends and played music as that trio called Women on Stage, each doing our own sets of music and then gradually learning each other's songs and singing along and playing along. And then eventually that dwindled down, and Sally and I kept doing shows together, and we went to England and we went to Austria and went to somewhere else.
Switzerland, I think.
Switzerland. But we've known each other for a really long time. We've got a wonderful friendship that keeps growing, and we finally realized that being songwriters, both of us, it would make sense if we wrote music together. And that was 2016, so it took us a while.
Yeah, 15, 16, I can't remember if it was. But anyway, we then released an album of our own, our joint material in 2017. And the songs that appeared then on that album germinated or began during a writing session in, how'd you say it again? Arat. In the cabin. So we called the album In the Shadow of a Small Mountain, because it was in the shadow of Pilot Mountain. And actually we've got it available as a USB to sell, haven't we, with a couple of other albums, an album of mine and an album of Vicky's as well. But anyway, this is a song from that album, and it was one that was inspired by me tasting moonshine for the very first time. And said to me, "You have to try." I said, "I don't really do alcohol." I said, "No, you've got."
First of all, that's not even the truth.
Well, spirits. I mean, or maybe I do. Anyway,
you do.
But anyway, I was told I had to try it. So they found me some moonshine, and then I tried it, and I had just the merest taste on my lips, on my tongue, and it blew my head off. It was so strong. Anyway, what it did was inspire this song, which we call Moonshine.
And we do a lot of research when we write music together. And once we got into the moonshine study, we realized, and we weren't just drinking it, we were actually reading about it. We realized the story behind it, one of the stories behind it, and of course the NASCAR race drivers being born of the moonshine drivers. We brought it all together in this song. So as well as our 2 cultures, will you say just a little bit about that?
There's a bit of a mixture of the folk music of Great Britain and also the music of the Appalachian Mountains. I'm trying to learn. See, we say Appalachian, and I've been told many times that that's wrong. You cannot pronounce it that way. It has to be Appalachian. Anyway, thank you. Moonshine.
Moonshine runners used to grace these roads, whiskey trippers, running from the law on the back roads of the Appalachian Hills, spin a 180 to escape the revenuers, running white lightning. That is Daddy May Junior Johnson. In his coupe flathead V8, he could drive blindfold through the rolling hills. He knew these roads like the back of his hands. He gave me moonshine, moonshine,
You gave me moonshine, moonshine. I'm out of my mind, my mind. 'Cause you gave me moonshine, moonshine. Now I'm having a good time, good time. 'Cause you gave me moonshine, moonshine.
On the back roads, out in the open fields, Fords and Chevys, on a homemade track, dueling drivers. Who's gonna be the king? Crowds would come, history is born.
You gave me moonshine, moonshine. You gave me moonshine, moonshine. I'm out of my mind, my mind. 'Cause you gave me moonshine, moonshine. Now I'm having a good time, good time. 'Cause you gave me moonshine, moonshine. Rolling hills, green fields of corn, good old boys in the everything store, steamy days, southern draws, tobacco at my door. You gave me moonshine, moonshine. You gave me moonshine, moonshine. I'm out of my mind, my mind. 'Cause you gave me moonshine, moonshine. Now I'm having a good time, good time. 'Cause you gave me moonshine, moonshine.
Moonshine. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And also from our album, In the Shadow of a Small Mountain, we're going to play another song for you. This is kind of a song which laments the passing of telephone boxes. We all now have mobile phones, and my kids, they don't remember the romance of a telephone box. I remember when I was a teenager myself, me and my best friend Janet used to go down to the telephone box at the bottom of her road in order to phone up boys. Mostly they were out playing football, and we had very, very brief conversations with their mothers. But for me, a telephone box, and we had red telephone boxes. I'm not sure what colours yours were. Were they grey or yellow or?
They were booths.
They were booths. Yes, they were. Well, we call them boxes, and you call them booths. It's I do find sometimes we do speak a different language, don't we?
It's wonderfully charming. But were our booths a certain color? I don't remember that. Metal is what I remember.
Metal.
Yeah. Leave it to England to have red ones. I don't know. We just didn't think of that.
If you're a fan of Doctor Who, then you'll sort of know what the telephone box looked like. So this song is called Little Red Box, and as I say, laments the passing of telephone booths. Tumble-down phone booth is all by itself on the green. Killed by the mobile and ravaged by vandals and rain. When I think of the hours that I've dreamed, drawing hearts and our names in the steam, in the little red box. £10 for hello and 20 for how was your day. For 50 I love you, and when will I see you again? Then the pips said we'd run out of time, and they drowned out the end of the line in the little red box. Used to be scarlet, like Santa dressed up on his sleigh. Now the door has gone missing, and the lettering's rusting away. Laughing so hard that we cried, as the queue got impatient outside the little red box. 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 little red box.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
The Martha Bassett Show is supported in part by Hugh Chatham Health. Hugh Chatham Health offers virtual care services 7 days a week from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Hugh Chatham Virtual Care allows you to access a health care provider at a time that is convenient for you. If you're in need of medical assistance, you may schedule your appointment with a Hugh Chatham provider by downloading the Hugh Chatham Virtual Care app or visiting hughchatham.org. Virtual Care. The Martha Bassett Show is supported in part by Explore Elkin, your one-stop travel source for the Yadkin Valley and beyond. If you're looking for hometown charm, historic landmarks, Main Street shopping, and fine dining, come stay a while in downtown Elkin. TMBS is also supported in part by our fine business friends of the Martha Bassett Show. That's Icon Custom Builders and Bowen Town and Country Furniture. Local and family-owned since 1956. American brands by skilled craftsmen using fine design and engineering and still producing beautiful furniture right here in North Carolina and also West Virginia, Pennsylvania, and Ohio. It's furniture made to use, not just made to sell.
I have your notes. To Jax, the +1 that makes our two hearts beat as one, from John. To Russell, thank you for being such a terrific travel and life partner. Here's to many more Valentine's days together. All my love, Cherie. To Ron, from Phyllis, no slap pass. To Nissa, from Bo, we're both dumb, and that's funny. The crumble cookies were delish. You know who you are. OXOX. To Braden Davis, from your fiance, I love you too much. All caps. To Pat, from Jerry, I thank God every day that he brought you into my life. I love you more every day. I love you, sweet, sweet Daniel. To Sandy, from Mike, married almost 32 years, and you still let me sleep with my head on top of the pillow and not underneath it. Love you more, love you most, love you big almost, and then some. To Sue, in Sue's embrace, love blooms bright, heart's symphony, a sweet delight. Together we dance life's tune, forever my Valentine, my lovely Sue, from Ron. Good job, you guys. I made a lover's prayer. I made a lover's prayer. Then watch the sky. Then wanna cry. There's only you and I.
I made a lover's prayer. Help me rise above what I'm thinking of. Just a little more love. Just a little more love. I made a lover's prayer. I made a lover's prayer. I made a lover's prayer.
Thank you.
Nope, Bil Lepp.
Please welcome back Bil Lepp.
Yes.
Skeeter grew a giant pumpkin in 1988. His 480 pounds, and it won all the prizes at the county and the state fair. You see, in the second grade, Skeeter fell in love with Charley Fester. Now, Charley was the daughter of Angus Fester, and Angus Fester was a dairy farmer who loved cattle so much that he had named all of his children after different breeds of cattle. So there was Angus Jr., there was Holstein, there was Hereford, there was Guernsey, and there was Jersey. And Hereford and Guernsey were the twins. Right? It doesn't make any sense. And so when Helen, Angus's wife, finally had a daughter, she knew that Angus was going to name the poor girl after a breed of cow, so she said, at least make it sound feminine. And that's how Charley Fester got her name. And so Skeeter, they fell in love in the second grade, and I'm not talking about some kind of puppy love. I'm talking about this love is still going on today. But Angus Fester was an awful, awful man, and his sons were awful, awful people. And in 1987, Helen and Charley, they just couldn't take it anymore. And so Helen had moved off to Sioux Falls because she figured she'd never been there before, and it was just far enough away that if Angus did start to come look for her, he would get about halfway across Ohio and either get too drunk or too bored to remember what he was doing. But that fall, the fall of 1987, Skeeter, my best friend in the whole wide world, for the first time since the second grade, he was away from the love of his life, from his girlfriend, and he wrote her a letter, an actual paper letter, because this was a long time ago. And he said, I miss you. I don't know what to do without you. And about a week later, he got a letter back from Charley, and he opened it up, and inside of that envelope was a package of giant pumpkin seeds. They were regular-sized pumpkin seeds, but they grew giant pumpkins. You understand what I'm saying? And there was a letter that said, grow a giant pumpkin. Gargantuan fruits are a balm for the brokenhearted. Well, it was November. and that's no time to grow a giant pumpkin. So Skeeter instead did research. He was going to honor this thing that Charley wanted him to do. He was going to do something constructive. The letter also said, do something constructive. I forgot to mention that, but you know it now. So he was going to do something constructive. So he went to the library and he read up. He found out everything that he needed to know to grow a giant pumpkin, and he found out that you needed fertilizer that's rich in potassium, nitrate, and sodium. That doesn't seem right. We'll go with it. You don't care. And so he came to my house one night. He knocked on the door at like 11:30 at night, and he had 2 shovels and some burlap sacks, and I didn't even ask. You know, why ruin the surprise? And we went to the Baptist church, and as we broke in, I said, what are we doing? And he said, we're breaking into the Baptist church. And I said, why? And he said, because I got to get fertilizer for my giant pumpkin. And I said, so we're breaking into the Baptist church? And he said, yes. And I said, yeah, okay. When Charley said, do something constructive, and he was like, shut up. And I said, why are we coming to the Baptist church? And he said, you know why? Because the attic is infested with bats. It has been for almost 2 decades. So there's tons of bat guano upstairs, which is rich in potassium, sodium, and nitrates, which is what a giant pumpkin needs to grow. And I said, so why are we breaking in? Why didn't we just ask? And he said, because I think the preacher's still mad at us. And I said, that's been like 10 years. He's probably forgiven us. And Skeeter said, that pastor, he's not really the forgiven type. And that was true. And then I said to him, yeah, I guess you're right. You know, if we're going to take crap off the Baptists, we're not going to ask. And so the rest of the night, we spent shoveling bat guano into burlap sacks and spearing it across the midnight streets of $50 West Virginia and dumping it in a huge hole that Skeeter had dug behind his yard. And when we had what Skeeter thought was sufficient fertilizer, we covered it over with dirt, we mixed it up, and we stood there standing on our shovels, leaning on our shovels. And I said, what do we do now? And he said, we wait for it to fertilize the ground. And I said, do we have to wait here? And he said, no, I guess we can go inside. So we went in, and while growing giant fruit is in fact a balm for the brokenhearted, waiting for bat guano to fertilize the soil beneath your pumpkin patch is not. And so Skeeter looked for constructive things to do. He went as far as driving all the way up to the university, 3 hours away. He learned everything there was to know about growing giant pumpkins. He learned that you should plant them about 7 to 10 days before the last killing frost. He learned that you should soak the seed in warm water just before you plant it. That softens it, that helps the plant emerge. And you should take an emery board and file the seed. That does the same thing. It makes it so the plant can get out better. And then just before the final frost, Skeeter went out and he planted his pumpkin seeds, and about 4 days after the final frost, the little tiny plant started to emerge, and Skeeter worked those plants with more love than I had ever seen him do anything in his life except love Charley. And the leaves started to come out, and then the vines started to grow, and the flowers emerged, and Skeeter watered his pumpkins, and he tended them, and he weeded them, and he fertilized them. And we were standing out there one day. Now there were lots of pumpkins in this field. We were standing out there, and Skeeter said, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to pick the pumpkin on the vine that you think has the best chance, and you're supposed to pluck all the other pumpkins off. And Skeeter said, but I can't do that. He said, because Charley told me to grow these seeds. Now, here's the thing about Charley. You already know. She grew up in an awful family. Her last name was Fester. When you live in a small town, probably when you live in any community, it doesn't matter how many generations back it goes. If someone in your family did something publicly stupid and was a jerk, they still think that's what you're going to do. And so Charley lived under this shadow her whole life. She was a great person. She tried really hard to be the best person in town, to do things for other people. But she was a Fester, and people just thought eventually she's going to screw up. And so they discounted Charley. And she was also only 4'2". She got that tall in the 4th grade, never grew any taller. And so people just didn't think she was capable of much. And so Charley hated when people just thought that you had no potential. And so Skeeter said she would want all of these pumpkins to grow, because we don't know which one of these pumpkins has the best potential. So he left them all. But one of them, started to outgrow all of its kin. I mean, pretty soon, it was the size of a volleyball, and then it was the size of a beach ball, and then it was the size of a Volkswagen. And what you have to do when you're growing giant pumpkins is you have to prepare to move them at the end of the harvest. And so Skeeter, this one pumpkin that was doing so well, he built a padded pallet, and he got the pumpkin up on top of that so that later we could just drive a forklift, lift it up onto a truck, and take it to the fair. And then Skeeter would go and sit in his yard. He took a lawn chair and a golf umbrella and lemonade, and he would sit in the chair in his backyard, and he would watch his pumpkin grow. And I would sit beside him because it was a small town and there wasn't a lot to do. And one day, Ferndale, our friend Ferndale, just by the way, is Whimsy's daughter, just so you know that information. Fern came over and she said, "What are you doing?" And Skeeter said, "I'm watching my pumpkin grow." And she said, "Why?" And he said, "Because it's fascinating." And she said, "You're fascinated by your pumpkin growing?" And he said, "Yeah." And she said, "Do you think the pumpkin is fascinated by its own growing?" And Skeeter said, "I don't think pumpkins have the capacity for fascination." And Ferndale said, "I think you might be projecting your feelings on that pumpkin." Because that's the way Fern talked. And Skeeter said, "No, think about it. We're fascinated by watching a baby grow, but is a baby fascinated by its own growth?" Skeeter said, "Honestly, I think my pumpkin might be bored." And Ferndale said, "So it's a bored gourd?" And after that, that's what we called it. So just on the other side of Skeeter's yard, well, there was a barbed wire fence, and then there was a cow pasture that belonged to Angus Fester, and in that pasture there was a mean old bull. He was just as mean as Angus Fester, and he hated, for whatever reason, he hated that pumpkin. I don't know what it was, but he would just stand in the field with his one, bulging eye looking over at that pumpkin, and he would snort and snot, and saliva would come out, and then he would kind of edge a little bit closer. Now, a giant pumpkin can grow 40 pounds a day. And so maybe as it stretched, the skin on the outside of that pumpkin emitted some sort of sound that only bulls can hear, some sort of, bull whistle. And it just drove that bull crazy, and he'd get closer and closer, and then he'd startle and he'd run away. And Skeeter said, "I'm really worried about that bull coming in here and doing something to the bored gourd." And so we would watch it. And one day a reporter showed up for the local newspaper. Came out once a week. It was called the $50 2 Bits. And he was the agricultural reporter for the $50 2 Bits, and he said to Skeeter, "How'd you get into growing giant pumpkins?" And Skeeter said, "Well, I told my girlfriend that I was brokenhearted, and she said I should grow a giant gourd because it's a balm for the brokenhearted." And well, the reporter was an agricultural reporter, not like a romance reporter. He didn't know where to go with that. And so he said, "How do you grow a giant pumpkin?" And Skeeter said, "Well, some people are seed people. They pick the right seed." He said, "But I'm a fertilizer person." And the reporter said, "What kind of fertilizer did you use?" And Skeeter said, "Well, you need something that's rich in potassium, sulfates, and nitrate." There we go. I got it right that time. It's sulfates. Potassium, sulfates, and nitrates. And so we used bat guano. And the reporter said, "How much?" And Skeeter said, "Hundreds of pounds." And the reporter said, "Where did you get hundreds of pounds of bat guano?" And Skeeter said, "We went to the Lord." Well, we were out there one day. Now, see, what had happened was once that pumpkin got big enough, it was starting to tilt off that padded pallet, and so Skeeter was trying to figure out how to keep it safe. And he said to me, when people grow giant tomatoes, they'll go to the store and they'll buy the biggest bra, and they'll just, cup the potatoes in the tomatoes. I'm talking about tomatoes. There's a big difference here. They'll just hold the tomatoes in a giant bra. And I was like, "Buddy, you're not getting a bra big enough for that pumpkin." But what he did, he and his dad got 2x12s, big treated 2x12s, and they put them in the ground up and down, and then they made like a hammock. And we got the bored gourd into that hammock. And we were sitting out there one day, me and Ferndale and Skeeter, when the bull had it. I don't know what happened, but he snapped, and he came charging burst right through the fence, was charging right at the bored gourd. There was an extra piece of 2x12 laying on the ground. Fern picked it up. She braced it against a tree between herself and the bored gourd, and the bull just just ran smack into that 2x12 so hard that the bull's horns pierced the board. And we looked at the bull, and the bull looked at us, and we didn't know what was going to happen, but fortunately that bull just turned around and he walked off the way he came. And a few minutes later, Angus Fester came tearing into Skeeter's driveway, and he got out of his truck, and he had that piece of 2x12, and it had those 2 holes in it, and Sheriff Hasbro pulled in behind him pretty soon. Now, Sheriff Hasbro and Angus Fester hated each other, but Sheriff Hasbro was an honest lawman, so he came out, to a problem when there was one. And Angus Fester said, Sheriff Hasbro, these 3 kids hit my bull so hard with this board that it pierced his horns. And Sheriff Hasbro looked at us. Well, he looked at Fern, because she was the only honest one of us there. And he said, is that true? And she said, no, sir. She said, I don't think even if the 3 of us together swung that board, we could pierce it on the bull's horns. And he said, well, what did happen? And she said, well, we were just sitting here, and that bull broke through the fence, and it came charging up here. It was going to attack the pumpkin. And Sheriff Hasbro said, let me see if I got this straight. He said, that bull burst through the fence, and it was going to gore the board gourd, but you held up that board, and the bull gored the board instead of the board gourd. And Ferndale said, I couldn't have said it better myself. And so Sheriff Hasbro looked at Angus Fester and he said, Angus, get out of here. Repair that fence and make sure that bull doesn't come back into this yard. He said, Skeeter is finally doing something constructive, and I don't want you messing with it. Well, the time came to harvest, and we took the board gourd, and it won all the prizes at the county fair and at the state fair, and all the FFA and the 4-H kids just gave Skeeter the stink eye, because here was this kid from the big city who had won all the agricultural prizes for giant pumpkins. But what do you do with a 480-pound pumpkin? I'll tell you what you do. The Baptist preacher hated Halloween, and so every year, just after Halloween, we would go to the Baptist church and we would have a pumpkin chuckin'. It seems like it should rhyme, like it should be pumpkin chunkin', but it's not. It's pumpkin chuckin'. And what that is you go around town, you collect all the jack-o'-lanterns, and then he would build a catapult, and then you just launch giant fruit. You can look it up on the internet. He would just launch fruit into the hillside beside the Baptist church. But this year, they were going to tear the Baptist church down. They bought a plot of land on the other side of town because the attic, again, was infested with bats. There was no way to fix it. And so this year, the pastor had installed a trebuchet on the steeple. Now, a trebuchet is kind of like a catapult, same family, except it's just a big, long stick with like a bolt in the middle, a fulcrum, and you put a counterweight up here, and whatever you put a sling on this end, and so you put whatever you're going to sling in the sling, and then you drop the counterweight, and it goes like that, and it just launches. Well, he had attached a telephone pole to the steeple so that we could launch the board gourd. And so we got the board gourd in the sling and the counterweight risen, and he dropped the counterweight. Everybody was there. The whole town had come out to see the sheriff. Charlotte had come from Sioux Falls just so she could watch what was going to happen with this giant pumpkin that she had inspired. And he dropped the counterweight, and the telephone pole went up, and the board gourd went into the air, and it came out of the sling. Now, the board gourd was a lot of things. It was a balm for the brokenhearted. It was a thorn in the side of a bull. It was an award-winning giant pumpkin, but it was in no way flight-worthy. And it just kind of went about 2 feet in the wrong direction and dropped, and it just went right through the roof of the $50 Baptist church. And it was so big in the attic, we just heard it crash through the ceiling of the attic, heard it crash into the sanctuary. It was just a little box church, and then this wall fell, and then this wall fell, and there was dust and insulation and pumpkin bits just flying through the sky, landing on everybody. And the Baptist pastor was saying, stained and tainted, stained and tainted. And Sheriff Hasbro was shaking his head, and Skeeter was saying, ashes to ashes, pumpkin to pumpkin. And Sheriff Hasbro said, I don't know how. He said, I know. There's no way you could have planned this. There's no way. But even when you try and do something constructive, it turns out like this. And Skeeter and Charlay were just holding hands so tight, and the town just erupted into applause. It was such a beautiful thing. And then Charlay and Skeeter went off to South Dakota to go to college. Ferndale went to where she went to college. I went to where I went to college. And we didn't see each other again until that next summer when Skeet and Charlay came home. And we were driving around town like you do. And we went past the field where the Baptist church used to be. And in that field, there were hundreds of bat boxes. And underneath all of those bat boxes, there were hundreds more giant pumpkin vines with giant pumpkins growing on them. And Skeeter and Charlay in the front seat were holding hands. And Skeeter just sort of gave a silent salute to the brood of the bored gourd.
The Martha Bassett Show is supported in part by Explore Elkin, your one-stop travel source for the Yadkin Valley and beyond. If you're looking for hometown charm, historic landmarks, Main Street shopping, and fine dining, come stay a while in downtown Elkin. And remember, when you come to visit us in beautiful downtown Elkin, make sure you stop by the shops at 150 East Market Street, where you'll find Dirty Joe's Coffee, the Smoothie Station, and the Barkery, home of Melissa's all-natural pet treats. The shops at 150 East Market Street. You are listening to the Valentine's episode from the Martha Bassett Show on National Public Radio, live from the Reeves Theater in Elkin, North Carolina. This is Sally Barker and Vicki Genfan performing their song, Tennessee Wind.
Thank you very much, thank you. We have a little message to impart to you. We're doing a little show in Pilot Mountain on Sunday. It's an afternoon show. I think it starts at 4, is that right?
Yeah, it starts at 4.
We're
4:30.
There's a place called Hilda's Place, where art lives.
Yes, Hilda's Place in Pilot Mountain on Main Street. And we're very excited. It's a very intimate space, holds about 40 people, and we're selling out the tickets. So we'd love to see somebody there if you're nearby.
And on the merchandise store, I think there's some postcards with the information and a QR code. We're very modern. QR code to scan if you wanted to buy tickets.
We're so modern.
Yeah, we are so modern. However, we've written this kind of old-timey sounding song, haven't we?
We have. Can I get just a little more of the mandotar in the? This is a mandolin guitar, or a mandotar I call it. It's a mandolin kind of with a guitar neck. And we wrote this song while partying in Tennessee, in the Smoky Mountains.
Yeah, we were in a cabin in Tennessee, and Vicki was playing the mandotar and came up with a tune. And I'd come over the sea in an aeroplane, and when I was flying in the aeroplane, they give me lots of alcohol, you see, so I was enjoying myself. And I wrote some words. And strangely enough, the words seem to fit with the tune. So this is the song Tennessee Wind.
Smoky Mountain Blue, wanna see you again. Smoky Mountain Blue, in the Tennessee wind.
I flew over the Labrador Sea to reunite my love and me. Newfoundland lay beneath my wings, where the mermaid siren sings.
Smoky Mountain Blue, wanna see you again.
Tennessee wind. With a fuzzy heart and a muzzy skin, love overflowing all the brim. We ate cornbread and key lime pie, cradled by the woods and the autumn sky, Smoky Mountain blue. Wanna see you again. Smoky Mountain blue in the Tennessee wind.
La 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 la.
I can feel you lift me high. Your shapes and colors fill my eyes. Another season rise and fall, listening to the mockingbird call. Smoky Mountain blue, wanna see you again. Smoky Mountain blue in the Tennessee wind. Smoky Mountain blue, wanna see you again. Smoky Mountain blue in the Tennessee wind. Thank you. We'd like to do, well, this is a new song, actually. It's a song that we've written for a different project, actually, with a third young lady. And we called it the Monumental Journey Project. And the original idea was that we would be traveling across America and we would set up in some of America's famous monuments, and that we would write music there. That didn't kind of work out because of work permits and things like that. I got a work permit for the US, but the other lady didn't, unfortunately. But nonetheless, we've managed to write music together, and this is one of those pieces. And this is a song that's dedicated to the Dark Sky movement, which is to do with...
Yes.
And it's called Dark Sky. Or Dark Skies, I can't remember now.
With an S.
Okay, Dark Skies.
Let's start again, because I'm allowed. Martha said,
I see Orion's belt, the pyramids align. I am a broken soul Watcher of the sky, I gaze up at the stars, the ground upon I lie. I am a broken soul, watcher of the skies, I do not fear the dawn, it bathes me as I cry. Circadian illumination, rhythm of life, the order of nature, rhythm of life. Observe the hunter's bow, celestial design. I am a broken soul, watcher of the sky, I gaze up at the stars, the ground upon I lie. I am a broken soul, watcher of the sky, I do not fear the dark, it bathes me as I cry. Unnatural disturbances, beasts of the night, the order of nature, beasts of the night. I am a broken soul, watcher of the skies. Talk to Mother Earth, watcher of
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, lovebirds, for coming out to spend the evening with us. We're going to leave you with a song that you will all know.
All my bags are packed, I'm ready to go. Standing here outside your door, hate to wake you up to say goodbye. Where the dawn is breaking its early morn, taxi's waiting, blowing his horn already. I'm so lonesome I could cry. So kiss me and smile for me, tell me that you wait for me, hold me like you'll never let me go. 'Cause I'm leaving on a jet plane, I don't know when I'll be back again. Oh babe, I hate to go, I hate to go.
I've let you down, so many times I've played around. I tell you now that they don't mean a thing. Every place I go, I'll think of you. Every song I sing for you. When I come back, I'll wear your wedding ring. So kiss me and smile for me, tell me that you wait for me, hold me like you'll never let me go. 'Cause I'm leaving on a jet plane, I don't know when I'll be back again. Oh babe, I hate to go, hate to go. Now the time has come to leave you. One more time, let me kiss you. Close your eyes, and I'll be on my way. But we can dream about the times to come when I won't have to leave alone. About the time we won't have to say, oh, kiss me and smile for me, tell me that you wait for me, hold me like you'll never let me go. 'Cause I'm leaving on a jet plane, I don't know when I'll be back again. Oh babe, I hate to go, I hate to go. 'Cause I'm leaving on a jet plane, I don't know when I'll be back again. Oh babe, I hate to go, hate to go.
Will you please put your hands together for Sally Barker? Vicki Genfan. Bil Lepp. Our awesome house band. Thank you. Happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you all. Thank Thank you all for tuning in, and to our beautiful live audience, you've been listening to our Valentine show. Let's hear it for Sally Barker, Vicki Genfan, and Bil Lepp. How about our fearless leader, Martha Bassett? The band tonight was Nicholas Falk, Russell Kelly, Deshaun Hickman, Rex McGee, Ben Singer, and me, Pat Lawrence. Jeff Irving, James Brickey, and Doug Williams of Electromagnetic Radiation Recorders handled the sound. Nick Bassett, Danny Carr, Brady Reed provided our video broadcast. Bevan Dyer managed the stage, and Miranda Carr is out there selling the merch. It's the Martha Bassett Show, good music for good people. Thanks for joining us, lovebirds. Drive safe and come back and see us. See you in the lobby.